I've always competed against women. I went to co-educational schools. In my first job in management consulting, I think half of the class that was there were women. And so for me, it's always been really quite a natural thing. And I would say to the extent there was a light bulb, it was when I came to Australia and found that the same level of women in senior leadership positions wasn't there. When I had children of my own, I certainly became much more viscerally understanding of the challenges that women face, particularly women with children who are trying to enter the workforce. By the way, I think it made me a much better manager myself in that I began to realize that the world is far more chaotic than we would like to exist, and having children certainly emphasizes that. I do remember one little aha moment when someone pointed out that if you schedule meetings at 8 a.m. in the morning, you're making it very difficult for a woman with children, or a man with children for that matter, to actually participate fully. And then there's the other obvious things that get pointed out around what sort of extracurricular activities do you plan in team building? Do you always have to go to a sporting event? Do you always have to play golf? You know, there's lots of things that societally, I guess, we tend to build into the way we do things, which have a very male orientation. The area that hasn't been looked at enough is unconscious bias and the way in which people are made to feel excluded or not given the same level of opportunities. Not because, and in my experience, it's not because men don't want women to be successful. Most men in senior management would love to be seen as someone who is supporting women to be successful. But their model of what success is informed by a male experience, and therefore they tend to screen out the opportunities inadvertently. And so I think programming, training on how to identify and become aware of your unconscious biases, and then putting steps in place that help an organization to address those unconscious biases is where it's at. The best example on dealing with unconscious bias that I've seen, which is something that I've adopted and we now have effectively as a policy at Westpac, is the idea of having a woman on the shortlist for every key role. The way senior management appointments get done is not the way entry-level and mid-level appointments get done, in that typically senior management has a role that's come available and they sit around and they say, okay, who have we got? Models, types, stereotypes spring to mind, and as a result, it just happens that because of history, those are all men. If you force the discussion of, well, if we were going to have a woman on the short list, who would it be? It forces that woman to be taken seriously and to be assessed on her merits. And I have seen on many occasions where you go, well, actually, now that you think about it, the way that she did that was quite different than the way these guys did. But you know what? She's actually been really effective. And actually, if we did that, so it forces you down a conversation route where the key thing is they get treated seriously. I think with all these issues, building empathy is really important. The last 2 years in school, I went to boarding school, and my roommate the first year was an African-American kid from North Carolina. And that was the first exposure I'd had to someone with that background. And we became very good friends. And over the course of that year, I became much more aware of how the world looked through his eyes and what he dealt with. And so I suppose over time, that's made me a lot more sensitive to the fact that lots of people don't have the same opportunities and in fact face lots of challenges that I don't face.